Hello, I'm Janine Kokel, and I'm one of the educators here in the Mayo Clinic Cancer Education Program. My background is nursing, and I've always worked at Mayo Clinic in some aspect of oncology care for 36 years. I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, you are experiencing some level or degree of fatigue. And that's not surprising, as it's a very common side effect, especially with cancer and cancer treatments. Cancer-related fatigue is different than the fatigue or tiredness that you might be used to. You know, us humans are pretty busy, we're on the go, we work hard all day, and even when we're tired at the end of the day, we can push through that fatigue to do a number of more things before we go to bed. If we sleep pretty well, we feel pretty refreshed the next day, typically. Cancer-related fatigue is a little different. It can be more overwhelming, it can be persistent, it can be a sense of extreme tiredness, it can be where you just feel complete exhaustion, and it can have a different pattern to it than you're used to. Oftentimes, the telltale factor of it is that oftentimes you don't feel refreshed the next day. You can feel just as tired the next day. And I know that's discouraging, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some tips that are tried and true and have worked well for a lot of people. So let's get started on that. Most people going through treatment will experience some type of fatigue. And that can range. It can be very, very mild to it can be extremely severe, like you're feeling like you're walking around in a lead suit and everything is so much effort. Usually, most people are somewhere in the middle of that, and it will have a pattern and will wax and wane. There are going to be times in your day where you're going to feel good, and you will feel better again. This will go away. It will keep getting better and better after treatment ends, and you will get back on that track to feeling like you're moving back. We're back together into your normal routines or your normal structures in daily life. But realize that that can take a number of months after your treatment is completed. So what causes this kind of fatigue? You know, the scientists have looked at this for a lot of years, and they don't fully, completely understand it. There are many, many things that are happening at a cellular level. Even when you're not working hard, your body is working very hard. Certainly treatment will impact your level of fatigue. Surgery itself, recovering from surgery, letting your body heal. Having to recover from anesthesia is part of this. Chemotherapy and immunotherapy definitely will cause fatigue. Depending on the dose, the different types of chemotherapies, some people will have more fatigue than others. You might find you just have a little bit more tiredness, but some people really are sort of riddled, so you have to be sort of prepared and plan for that. Chemotherapy will typically have more of a pattern that will often mimic what happens with your blood counts. So it'll often have more of a wavy pattern where you have peaks and valleys of your energy. Radiation definitely causes fatigue as well, but with radiation, it typically will often slowly increase over the course of radiation and for a period of time after. Then it slowly dissipates again after the radiation is completed. And that can take a few months. Different symptoms. If a person has a lot of fevers, or if you are anemic, we make you anemic sometimes by the chemotherapies and treatments that we give you. That means we're lowering your red blood cells. The red blood cells carry oxygen to your tissue, so you can do those vital activities we need to do. So if your red blood cells are low, you're going to feel a little more tired and things will wear you out quicker. Certain medications, pain medications, nausea medications, medications people might be on for anti-anxiety or depression. People are on steroids for their treatments. They often will keep people awake at night, and then people are, fatigued from not sleeping. Not sleeping, of course, and then certainly stress. So how do we go about managing this and dealing with cancer-related fatigue? I would say that if we can, we want to treat any underlying types of symptoms that we can. Depending on how anemic a person might be, we may have to give a blood transfusion. Usually we don't. We usually let people kind of wax and wane through that. Their red blood cells do come back on their own. There are different ways we can help people. If people are having a lot of pain and not sleeping, then we need to address that. There are different ways we can look at that. But oftentimes, a lot of the tips and strategies that are helpful center around the idea and the concept of energy management and energy conservation. Also, making sure that we're getting good nutrition in our bodies, paying close attention to that balance of rest, activity, sleep, and finding ways to try to help lower our stress. So this all begins, I think, with a little bit of homework for you. You didn't know I'm going to give you homework, but I am. It's just a little bit. I need you to be a little bit more self-aware of your pattern of fatigue. We have to do a little self-assessment. So I want you to pay close attention for, maybe a few days, a week, or ongoing periodically. I want you to look at your fatigue levels throughout the day. Are there times in the day when you have better energy? Are there times in the day when you really kind of hit a wall? We got to look at that. If you feel good in the morning, well, then we're going to make sure that we use that time to really do the things you need to get done. If you hit a wall about 3 o'clock every day, we're not doing anything at 3 o'clock except maybe taking a nap or a rest period. I want you to take a look at that pattern. How does your fatigue level change throughout the day? How do you feel in the morning, midday, and afternoon? What kinds of activities or things that you're doing make it better? Make you feel, I feel a little better today. I have a little better energy. And what kinds of things make it worse? How much activity can you do and tolerate before you really start feeling wiped out or exhausted? And how long of a rest period do you need to recover from that? One way to look at this is to actually maybe keep a diary for a week or ongoing, just to pay attention, make some notes of the things that are helpful, maybe aren't, times of day, things like that. So when we look at energy management and conservation strategies, I guess the best way I like to explain it is to think of yourself as an energy bank account. And just like your energy bank account can fluctuate, is just like our normal bank accounts fluctuate. But when our bank account is really low, we have to be the banker. We have to figure out how we're going to really protect that vital energy that's in there and not deplete it. It's just really, really important that you pay close attention to that. When your bank account is low, or it's becoming more low because you're finding that from treatment it's starting to, really add to your level of fatigue. We have to employ different strategies, and I tend to think about the 3 P's for energy conservation. That's prioritizing, planning ahead, and pacing yourself differently. So, when we want to prioritize, we really have to think about what are the things that are most important to us that we absolutely need to get done in the course of a day, whether that's maybe here while you're at treatment or at home or when you're at home recovering after treatment. What kinds of things have to be done? And on that list of things that need to be done, what's really most important that you do, you're in charge of, you want to take charge of? I want you to really focus on those things that you really want to do. And then what are the things that need to get done, but you really don't care who does it? How can we delegate? How can we find help? How can we enlist others to help get some of those things done? And what kinds of things can we just leave until later. I will tell you that certain things will wait for you, like dust and vacuuming. So I know that can drive you crazy, but sometimes we got to lower our standards while we're going through this. A good way to do this is to try to break activities into manageable pieces. Looking at those activities that need to get done. Sometimes we're so fatigued we can't even sort out or plan or think about what activities need to be done. So there's what I'm going to say. Hey, can you assign that task to a family member or a close friend that really understands you and what is in your routine and what needs to happen? Can they help you do this? Can they help you find others that might be able to help and contribute? And really, I just want to say a word about allowing people to help. Other people want to contribute. It makes them feel good if they can do something for you. They really like something specific. If you have things that you need to get done, you don't care who does them, please let other people do it. So when they call you and say, hey, how can I help? I want to do something. Our natural instinct is to say, I don't want to bother you or thank you. But really, let them do some things that will help you and make them feel good. Yeah. I'll break your activities during the day into manageable pieces. We've got to figure out how we can adapt, limit some things, alter our activities, and just ways to make things easier to accomplish. Pay attention to not overdoing it. When you're going through cancer-related fatigue, you can't push through it to do more things like you used to. And you will find that family members will say, oh, you look so good. You look great. But that's hard to hear when you don't feel very good and when you have no energy and you see everything around you that you want to do and you just don't have the energy to do it. So what we got to do then is really sort of also plan ahead. What kinds of things need to get done? How are we going to do it? And, again, who can help you? How can you add rest breaks into your schedule of activities that need to happen? Even social events. I think sometimes when we're really having a lot of fatigue, we tend to cancel things. We isolate ourselves, and we don't participate in some of the things that can actually pick us up and fill our cup up again. So, of course, if you're really fatigued, maybe we don't do as many social things. But if there's some kind of a event coming up that you really want to go to, I'd say, hey, you do it. You have plan A and plan B and plan C in place so that you can you go for a little while? Can you sit more instead of standing so long? Can you not stay quite so long? There are ways that you can do it and enjoy, but maybe you have to do it just a little bit differently. Are there ways you can break tasks down? Say if you're the main cook in the household, can you prepare more meals when you have the best energy in the day? Can you make larger meals so that you can freeze them for meals later? Can you sit and prep it? I'd like you to pay attention to the energy zappers, meaning what activities do you do that wipe you out? For most of us, we love a shower. We love taking a shower every day, but most of us don't realize that they're a huge energy zapper. We love a nice hot shower, right? But that being super hot shower can really zap your energy. So if your energy is low, I might encourage you to take a shower every other or every few days. You could take, a little, just a little wash-up bath during the other days. You could sit on a chair in the shower, a little cooler in temperature. And then if you want to, it might not be a bad idea to shower right before bed so that you can go right to bed afterwards. That's really actually thinking about breaking these things down and how can I go about actually doing these tasks, but at a different pace. We always sort of beat ourselves up. I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. Well, this is not ordinary circumstances. and you're going through something here, and these treatments can take a toll. So it's okay to be gentle on yourselves and give yourself a break and let go of that guilt, please. It's okay. I'm giving you permission to let go of that guilt. You're just going to take this a piece at a time. You can do what you can do, and then it's okay. Really, it truly is. So we're going to prioritize what needs to happen. We're going to ask for help. We're going to make a plan. If we can't make that plan, oh well. Don't get upset about it. We're also going to pace ourselves differently. So a slow and moderate pace of getting things done is much better than trying to rush and hurry and overextend yourself trying to get something done before you get too tired. Better to go slow and easy. Remember the tortoise one, not the hare. Just go slow and gently and pace yourself. Try alternating sitting, standing, sitting, walking, sitting, activity. Schedule rest breaks. You do need extra rest while you're going through this treatment and for a period of time after your treatment is over. The key is not too much. When you're really fatigued, it's very, very hard to get motivated to get up and do a lot of movement, activity, and exercise, even though your family might be pushing you. They have your best interest at heart. They want to push you so that you feel better. But your job is to try, but make sure that you take breaks too. The key is not to let yourself just sit, lie, recline, nap. Sometimes people find that they are just napping all day and all night. They don't really sleep well at night, and they just are taking naps all the time. We'd really rather you take a power nap, a power rest during the day. Some people might need one, others might need 2 or even 3 of them in a day. A power rest is about a 20 or 30 minute rest period. And even though you want to stay in bed for another hour, it's really, really important that you get up and get moving, even if you just get yourself up and walk for a couple minutes. Get your circulation going, get yourself moving again. But that whole balance of activity, rest is very important. If you think about it, if you put a strong, healthy athlete, there's nothing wrong with them, but you have them just laying, reclining, sitting, laying, reclining for 2 weeks, now they're weak from not being active. We do know that people get deconditioned going through treatments. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid having you get very deconditioned. With a little activity and exercise and balancing that activity, rest, movement, you can really try to help decrease that loss of strength and mobility. Planned in frequent rest breaks and activities. Exercise is important, but when I say exercise, I'm thinking about not necessarily going to the gym and pumping iron. I'm thinking about movement and walking. There's been tremendous numbers of studies over the years looking at different types of cancers, different stages of cancer, different treatment. They have one group in the study that's just doing their normal day-to-day thing, with the opposite, another group that was really doing some type of exercise program, like a walking program. And the people who uniformly participated in the activity, movement, walking program felt better, had better energy, less fatigue. If they had a complication, they bounced back quicker after. They felt better after treatment. They bounced back quicker after treatment. It's vital. There's a lot of evidence in the prevention field, prevention realm, that exercise and activity on a daily basis and trying to increase that amount can really be helpful in cancer prevention. There's a lot of emerging evidence that when you are finished with treatment and you recover from the side effects to a degree and you start building your activity energy levels, that the more you can get yourself into a routine of exercising on most days, you will find that the evidence is showing that really it is a big impact in terms of decreasing even cancer recurrences. So that's a pretty big motivator. I want you to find your motivation, find your why, because when you're really tired, you don't want to get up. have that why there. So why you need to get up and move. There's a lot of research for being done right now on something called the sitting disease. In America, the average person is sitting 12 hours a day. I have to say I'm probably in there. I drive on my way to work. I sit at the computer. I sit and teach. I sit at the computer. I sit and teach. I go home. I think, oh, I'm going to do all these things tonight. And yeah, I'm sitting down and watching TV. So we have to figure out how to put some wedges in that spiral. And I'm working on it. And I want you to also. So we want to incorporate small bits. When you are fatigued, we have to go at the level of where we are. So we have to be realistic. So what can you do? There is some level of activity, movement that you can do no matter what level of fatigue you have. I just want you to think about ways that you could help incorporate more movement, more activity all throughout the day. While, yes, building up down the road to, a true exercise where you're kind of getting your heart rate up for 20, 30 minutes a day is great. But even research says we can break that down into 5-minute bursts or 10-minute bursts. But I'm not really talking about that right now. I'm talking about building more activity throughout the day. Every time you get up, walk a little bit farther. If you're sitting for 30 minutes, I want you to get up. About every 30 minutes, get up and walk even just 2 to 3 minutes. It really helps undo all of that sitting. And so I just don't want you to sit for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. Much better you get up and move. And when you are very fatigued and it seems discouraging because you can only do these few steps at a time without getting exhausted, I want you to embrace those sort of baby steps, those small steps. Keep on keeping on. Keep on those small steps because they become the medium steps and the bigger steps. I have an example of a gal who never smoked, but she had got diagnosed with a lung cancer and had to have her entire lung removed. She couldn't walk 3 feet without gasping and being exhausted. But she wasn't going to let it stop her. She walked 3 feet, let herself recover. She walked 3 feet, let herself recover, and so on until she could do 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. Then her bedroom was upstairs. She couldn't go up those stairs. She had a hospital bed in her living room. But she would go on her butt, up 2 steps, down 2 steps, up 2 steps, down 2 steps, until she could get herself up there. But this same person kept moving, kept walking, kept little goals in front of her until she could walk longer distances, till she could walk a half mile or a mile or 3. She started to be able to jog slowly. Then she started to be able to jog a little faster. She made a goal for herself to run a 5K race, which is 3.1 miles in every state in America, which she did. Now she's riding bikes in all 50 states. She started a lung cancer foundation. So one person, one baby step at a time can make a big, big difference. So don't underestimate this. If you have one message from here, is don't underestimate those small steps. They're really important. If you walk to your couch, the next day or a few days you can walk to your kitchen, then you walk to around your apartment or your house. Keep it up, keep it up. Those are huge steps in helping you to get stronger. The other message that I want to tell you is that this happens to almost every single person I've ever encountered in my life, is that when we are down for some reason, or we have a lot of fatigue, or we're ill, on the days when we start feeling better, or after your treatment ends and you start having some energy back, what do? We go like crazy trying to do all those things that we wanted to do but had no energy for. But then what happens is we completely deplete our energy level, and then we're down in bed for 2 days. And then we do it again and then again and again. So much better if you can let yourself do an activity, but before you get tired, you sit and rest. You do an activity, you sit and rest. Do an activity, sit and rest. We know all of the activities we want to do. We forget to put the rest in, especially as we get our endurance gets better, we get stronger, we have better energy. You still have to put that break time in and move up slowly. So after a few weeks, you add a little more length on your activity, more intensity, but then you still have to take a break. This is how you build, rather than going crazy, sliding back. Much better approach. Okay, we're almost done. A couple more important parts of dealing with fatigue is looking at sleep. You know, many times patients that have cancer or going through treatment don't sleep very well, and there's a lot of reasons for that as well. The sleep research says we sleep better in a cool, dark, and quiet environment. You know, keep that bedtime hour or so before bedtime to be a quiet, non-stimulating routine. Us humans like routines, so if you like to read, change into your clothes, brush your teeth, have a snack, do those things. They're all cues to say it's time to settle down and go to bed. If it's noisy, we're going to put a masking noise on, like a fan, to keep it more quiet. Use earplugs, something like that. Don't be looking at your Facebook or your emails and computer an hour before bed. Dim those lights. I'll tell you another thing. If you're not sleeping for a period of time, you just can't get to sleep, you're wrestling, and if it's been a half hour, 40 minutes, it's very likely you're going to keep wrestling. So it is better for you to get out of bed for a period of time. I know this, I do this myself. So I keep a blanket and a pillow on my couch. If I'm wrestling with sleep, I get up and I keep the lights down. I watch something mildly interesting, like maybe a cooking show. Nothing too stimulating. And then after I start to feel tired, I go back to bed, and I will tell you that I bet 99% of the time I'll fall asleep then. Another key thing to do or not to do is to not look at your clock if you wake up. You know, it really doesn't matter what time it is. Your alarm will wake you up in the morning. But as soon as you look at that clock, you're going to say, now I only have 3 hours left asleep. That it gets you all riled up. So you're better off not looking at it. Finding ways to relax and unwind. A couple other tips. So, you know, for a lot of us, we keep trying to tuck these worries and concerns in the back of our mind for most of the time. But when we lay down, we're quiet, we're tired, that's when those things like to come out and become mountains to deal with. So what if we turn that around? What if we take some time early in the day, not before bed, to actually let ourselves worry? Sounds crazy, but not really. I actually want you to start addressing those things. So I might tell you, what if we do something like a 20 or 30 minute session each morning for a period of time? To have worry time. You could call it solution finding time or my daily planning time. But initially, what I'd like you to do is just sit quietly and just write down anything and everything that's bothering you, upsetting you, worrying you, stressing you. And maybe during another worry time session, you're going to actually look at that list. You're going to prioritize it. Are there things on here that are really important to me and things that not? Are there things that I have control over or things that are not? A lot of times we spend a lot of energy focusing on things we have zero control over and not pouring our energy into the things that we actually can do that might help us to tolerate those things that we have no control over. So looking at that with critical eyes, who can help you? Is there any solutions that can be done? If I talk to my boss about having a rest period as I enter back into the work field again after this, or can I enter in slowly? It's much easier to enter back into all your activities and work schedules if you go slower into it rather than jump full force into them, and then you don't have the energy to tolerate it. Let's see. What was I going to say? I guess that's kind of my key messages about sleep. The number one tip that they say out of the sleep research is that us humans do best if we keep a very consistent bedtime and wake time every day of the week. Don't fluctuate that. Don't change it. If you are not sleeping, I tell you to try to be a sleep scientist to some degree to figure out why not. You know, we have you drinking a lot of fluids usually here while you're going through this. So if you have to get up to go to the bathroom at night, okay, well then I want you to drink your fluids throughout the day until dinner. And then we're going to really cut back on fluids. So that's not happening. So it's trying to sort through that. Oh, back to that worry time list. You know, so you're sorting that out. You're thinking about it. And of course, there's things on that list you don't have a solution to. But sometimes, maybe for some of your worry time sessions, can you let yourself maybe just maybe feel some of those emotions that you're trying to avoid? You know, it doesn't feel good to think about that or be mad or upset or cry. But maybe we let ourselves do those things, allow that for that period of time. This isn't what you want to be doing. Can you let yourself express it? Maybe it won't hang on to you quite so hard. You know, allow that. You know, I want to tell you that there are so many people here at Mayo and really around the world. And, you know, their full job is to help people sort the forest through the trees. And there are times in our life when we need that. So if you feel like you need some help with that, we have nurse specialists, social work, chaplain, dietitian, psychologist, psychiatrist, who are more than willing to help. So please contact us, contact your provider, and we'll help you to do that. Another last piece about the importance of cancer-related fatigue is making sure that you're getting good nutrition and hydration. If you think about your car cannot go when it's on empty, when it doesn't have the right kind of fuel. You cannot go when you don't have the right kind of fuel either. Really important that if you are not eating much in a day, it's important that we break that down into small, manageable meals through the day. You don't have to have 3 big meals. You can have small meals. But if you're not taking much in, we really have to make sure that those calories that you take in are nutrient dense and good quality and not empty calories. Small meals. You probably need a little extra protein during this. You know, a lot of research is talking about plant-based diets and really trying to make sure you are really taking in a variety and abundance, really, of different types of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. You know, in America, we usually focus our main meal on the meat, and it takes up a big portion of our plate. Really, the idea is now to look at half of our plate being fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it being whole grains, and a quarter of it being a very lean meat, maybe like a salmon that's a fatty good fish, or lean beef or something. You know, you do need extra protein. There's lots of ways to get protein, even in small amounts now. And actually, I encourage you to ask for or seek out a dietitian. They're happy to give you a lot of tips and guide you through that process. Also important to drink a lot of water. You know, 6 to 8 glasses a day. You can have a cup of coffee or some soda also, but we really do want you to have a fairly substantial amount of water in the day. It just helps every single system in your body, really, and it helps you to just stay hydrated and overall feel better. So just to recap, cancer-related fatigue is different than the normal fatigue we have. It can have a different pattern for different people and different treatments. The best way to go about it is really looking at energy management. And remember the 3 Ps: prioritize, pacing, and planning ahead. Breaking things down into manageable pieces. Very important to balance activity, rest, get extra rest, but not too much. Make sure you're taking in good nutrition and hydration, and be gentle on yourself. Be kind. This is hard stuff. With that, I wish you well, and I hope that your treatments go very well and that you feel well. Take care.